Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV screen to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. Hello, how are you? Who are you? What are you? Why are you? Why are you what you are? These are the questions. Yes, the exact questions that we won't be asking today. Or at any time in the future, really. No, if you want answers to questions like these, well, I suppose you can call the Buddhist helpline, but I'm afraid that I don't know their number. Try looking on the internet. And if you can't find the Buddhist helpline phone number, remember, you can always find Nirvana at www.m5tv.hu. Nirvana in the form of English lessons from our past, with vocabulary lists too. Okay, now that we've dealt with the daily issues relating to transcendentalism, I reckon it's probably about time we got back to the real world. The world of English lessons and the world of English lesson revision. Are you ready? No lingering problems related to transcendentalism? No? Fab! Well then, let's get it on. And now, here we go. Let's get stuck into what we learned in the last 4 weeks. Let's have a quick peek at the 11th week again. We looked at using can. We learned how to say that we know how to do something, that we have the ability to do something. We also know that we can use can to talk about things which are possible or impossible. Stevie Wonder can't see. My dog's got no legs. He can't walk. I can come to the cinema because I'm free now. Also, in week 11, we looked at the Benchfield family again and checked that we remembered all the relationships between the family members. We revised the use of have, got. We looked at the positive form, the negative form, and the question form. Now, did you spot what we used to talk about possession? That's right. We used the form of have got plus noun. Do you remember when we use it? Correct-a-doodle monkey see monkey do. We use the form have got plus noun when we're talking about possession, when we're talking about things that belong to me or to you or to someone else. We use the form of have got plus noun to talk about objects. I've got a watch. I've got a ring. I've got a pair of glasses. And we use the form of have got plus noun to talk about appearance. I've got blue eyes. She's got blonde hair. They've got long black hair. We also use the form have got plus noun to talk about our families. I've got a sister. My sister's got 3 children, a son and 2 daughters. Good. Now, do you remember the form of have got? Mabel showed us a table. Do you want to see it again? Okay, Mabel, you heard the people. Show us the table. Okay, well, that's simple enough. We all remember that we have to be careful with the third person singular, he, she, it, because the spelling for the verb to have changes in the third person singular. All of the other forms are have got, but the third person singular is has got. So, I've got 2 legs and 2 arms. You've got 2 legs and 2 arms, but she's got 2 legs and 2 arms. Okay, now, what about the negative? How do we use the have got form to say that someone doesn't have something? Mabel had a table for that too. Mabel, the gods of English would like to see the next table, please. Great. Thanks, Mabel. Okay, so, as usual, we use the word not to make the negative. We put not between have and got. Have got becomes have not got, or, in the short version, haven't got. Again, we have to be a little bit careful with the third person singular, he, she, it, because of the spelling change. In the third person singular, we put not between the 2 parts, has got becomes has not got, and the short form is hasn't got. Well, what do you think is coming next? Yes, that's right. We've seen the positive. We've seen the negative. Mabel, please show the gods of English the table with the question form. Okay, great, fantastic. Cornflakes, Rice Krispies and Weetabix for breakfast. Good. Now, what's the first difference we notice? That's right. When we use have got in the positive and negative, we use the short form. But when we ask a question using have got, we don't use the short form. When we ask a question, we don't say, got a car? It's impossible to say or understand. Got watch? Forget it, forget it. I can't do it. Okay, when we want to ask a question about possession, when we want to ask about something that belongs to someone or something that they have, blue eyes, 2 legs, a sister, then we use the long form of have got. When we answer the question, we use the short form. But when we ask the question, we use the long form. Great, fantastic, wonderful, Jimmy Stewart, Stewie Griffin, Snoopy. Okay, now, let's have another look at week 12. Now, in week 12, we met some new members of the Benchfield family. Do you remember? In the 12th week, in the 56th lesson, we met Mary's mum and dad. Mary's dad is called Joe Taylor. He's got jet black hair in a quiff. Joe's a bit of a rocker. When we met Joe, and also when we met Mary's mum, Jenny, we used the form of have got to talk about them. We used have got to describe them and what they possess. We know that Joe has got jet black hair, and we also know that Joe has got very big black sideburns. We learned that Mary's mum, Jenny, has got grey hair, blue eyes and glasses. When we met Jenny and Joe, we also talked about using different forms of English to talk about the same thing. We can say that Joe has got green eyes, or we can say that Joe's eyes are green. We can use both. After we met Mary's parents, Joe and Jenny, we also met Mary's siblings, her brother and sister. Great! I bow before the gods of English. Okay, well, in week 12, the 12th week, we learned about more family relationships as well, didn't we? Now, the last part of the relationships I want to look at today is the relationship between the children and Mary's siblings. We know the relationship between Mary's siblings and Mary's husband. They're brother-in-law and sister-in-law. But what about the relationship between Gordon and Jane and Tim, John, Elizabeth and Doreen? Well, let's look at the relationship between Gordon and his sister's children first. Gordon is the children's uncle. He's Tim's uncle, John's uncle, Elizabeth's uncle and Doreen's uncle. He's their uncle. Okay. Now, what about Jane? Well, Jane is the children's aunt. Jane is Tim's aunt, she's John's aunt, she's Elizabeth's aunt, and she's Doreen's aunt. Great. So, because he's a man, Gordon is the children's uncle. And because she's a woman, Jane is the children's aunt. The relationship is the same. Both Gordon and Jane are Mary's siblings. They're her brother and sister. But because Gordon is a man, he's his sister's children's uncle. Jane is her sister's children's aunt. Okay, have you got that? I reckon you have. Okay, let's look at the next step. We know that Gordon is the kid's uncle, and we know that Jane is the kid's aunt. But what about the relationship in the other direction? What's the relationship between the kids and their uncle and aunt? Well, Tim and John are nephews to Gordon and Jane. Tim is Gordon's nephew, and Tim is also Jane's nephew. John is Gordon's nephew, and John is also Jane's nephew. So, because they're boys, they're nephews. Okay, and what about the girls? Well, Elizabeth and Doreen are nieces to Gordon and Jane. Elizabeth is Gordon's niece, and Elizabeth is also Jane's niece. Doreen is Gordon's niece, and Doreen is also Jane's niece. Great. So, because they're girls, they're nieces, not nephews. Nephews are always boys or men. Nieces are always girls or ladies. Great! Another revision lesson completely completed. Well done us. So we're slowly wading through the English that we already looked at, the English that we've already seen, the English that we've already studied. But perhaps we haven't learnt it yet. What we're doing is studying the English language. The difference between study and learn is that learn means that we know it. We don't have to study it anymore. We know it. We've learned it. It's in our heads and we won't forget it. Now, obviously, it's possible for us to learn parts of English. But I don't think that I will ever finish learning. I don't think that I've learned English. I'm still learning. And together, we're going to carry on studying, learning as much of the English language as we can. Okay, now that's all we have time for today. So, have a cup of coffee, take the dog for a walk, rest, relax, enjoy yourself, and I'll see you next lesson. Thanks for watching M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan, reminding you that you can catch up with all of our lessons and more at www.m5tv.hu. Okay, have a great evening and I'll see you next time. See you later. Bye.